Hi, I'm Tony, a baby boomer talking life and joy. In this particular playlist, I want to share something that I believe will be extremely beneficial to you. Years ago, I was a young pastor in the 1990s and just getting my feet wet in, in that field of endeavor. And I was just so hungry to learn as much as I possibly could. And at that time, I learned for the first time at that time about a man by the name of John Maxwell. Now, John Maxwell is obviously one of the foremost leadership trainers in America today. He's written scads of books. And he was at that time, though, back in the early 90s, he hadn't launched out on that platform to the degree that he's on that platform today. And back then, he was a pastor of a church in San Diego, California called Skyline Wesleyan Church. It was a large church, and it was large because of his leadership skills, and it was continuing to grow. And what he did was he wanted to mentor people, and he had this burden for leadership. And he believed that pastors all across the country could grow their churches and impact a lot of people if they had the right leadership skills. So what Maxwell did was he put together a series of trainings in an organization that he called the Injoy Life Club. And what he would do is he would teach his staff once a month. His staff would get together and he would train them in leadership skills, and he would record those, and he would allow pastors across the country to subscribe, pay a paid monthly subscription, which I don't remember what it was, but it was very affordable. And you could subscribe to this monthly subscription, and you would get this little cassette tape. See that right there? Kind of gives you an idea of how long ago it was. And you can see a younger picture of John Maxwell there, and on the front, he doesn't look like that anymore. And also inside with the tape was, or with the tape was some very detailed notes, and had a lot of blanks in them. So as we listened to them, I mean, these things would just break out into three folds, and front and back, and they were just packed. And we could sit there and listen to them, and I looked forward to getting this every month. And when it came into my mailbox, I was so excited. And I would rip it open and go to my desk and get out my tape player and plug it in and immediately start listening and taking these notes and just consuming it like a sponge. And it was just amazing, great information that I was able to implement and make some pretty significant changes in my church and my service as a pastor, and was able to grow my church the way that Maxwell had trained us to do. Now, eventually, Maxwell left full-time ministry and went out into full-time leadership training, and he's been doing that for, good grief, I know, since the mid 2000s. And he's just a very impactful person, but he also has a burden, a passion for leadership and mentoring and training people to develop their skills. Now, years ago, back in the 90s, I don't know exactly when it came out, but there was a book by Stephen Covey called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And obviously, Maxwell had read it and thought that it was a good book. But he also, oftentimes when he would read a book, he would look to the counter of it, or get kind of a opposite view to teach those of us that were in his Enjoy Life Club. And so, kind of playing on the words of the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he put together this training called the 7 Habits of Highly Defective People, which was very, very good and very, very impactful. And what I want to do in this particular audio, or this particular video, I want to give you those 7 habits and make a few comments, just reminding me of what I learned from him so many years ago. And this is so great. So let me give these to you. He said, here are the 7 habits of highly defective people. Here's number 1. He said, the first habit of highly defective people is that they are poor time managers. And he went on to explain that highly effective people have control of their calendars. They don't let people come in and get them off track. Highly defective people are constantly running around, putting out fires and getting distracted by this or that, taking phone calls at the wrong time, running out because they're tired of working on this. They're not focused, in other words. And he said highly effective people know how to prioritize their time, plan their time, work in time blocks, and don't let anything get in the way of what they've prioritized for the day. They write down at the beginning of the day 2 or 3 major accomplishments for the day, and they start early and they focus on them and they prioritize them until they are accomplished. So he said they prioritize their time, they plan their time, and they make the most of their time. The second habit of highly defective people is, he said, that they have a losing attitude. They possess a losing attitude. And if you are familiar with any of John Maxwell's book, you know that among the first ones that he wrote all those years ago was The Winning Attitude. And it's a great book. I've read it several times. But he talks about how high you go in life, is determined by how good of an attitude you have. He says your altitude is determined by your attitude. So if you have a bad attitude, you're going to be a griper and a complainer and a moaner and a whiner. You're not going to go very high in life. But if you have a good attitude, an optimistic view of life, if you're a happy person and you look at life as a series of opportunities and chances, and each day is another blessing, then that's a good attitude, and that will lead you higher up the chain of success. And so possess a winning attitude, he said, but defective people possess a losing attitude. The third was, he said, they quit growing. The third habit of highly defective people is they quit growing. They have the mentality of, I've gone up to high school or even college, and I'm done learning. I'm tired of reading books. I'm tired of attending classes, taking courses, going to seminars. I'm not doing that anymore. But if you know much about John Maxwell, you know that he is big time into training and continuing to grow, to read books, to attend seminars, to attend webinars, to get mentors, to get the advice of people that have gone to places you haven't gone before, but you want to go there, that you're committed to personal development, to personal growth. But those people who are highly defective have stopped learning. They've stopped growing. One of the reasons that John Maxwell writes so many books and has written so many books and done so many seminars over the years is because he believes in pouring into people his understandings of leadership and help them grow. The more you grow, the higher you go is kind of the John Maxwell outlook. So highly defective people quit growing. Number 4, he says, highly defective people do not have a game plan for life. Highly effective people know what they want to accomplish in their life. They have goals. They know where they're going to go. But highly defective people don't really have any goals. They don't have a game plan for life. They just kind of wing it day to day and deal with life as it comes. But highly effective people, according to John Maxwell, are people that have set goals, short-term goals, long-term goals. They know where they want to go, and they give themselves to the accomplishment of those goals. And he even asks some questions for us to consider, or some questions we should ask ourselves. So when we think about, do we have a game plan for our lives? The first question, he says, is what is it that you actually want to accomplish? What is this game plan leading you to do? What is it that you're wanting to accomplish in your life? Be specific about it. Write it down. Know exactly what it is that you want to do. The second question is, can I make that a specific purpose to pursue? In other words, can I make it unique to me? Can I look at that goal and say, yeah, but how can other people have done something similar, but how can I do it on my terms in a way that'll benefit me and make it my own? Can I make it very personal? A third question he asks is, are you actually accomplishing it? Question you should ask yourself is, are you accomplishing it? In other words, you know where you want to go, but have you gotten started? And if you've gotten started, there should be some mile markers along the way. little accomplishments along the way that you can look back and say, wow, I've done this, I've done this, I've done that, and I'm getting there. I'm moving toward that particular goal. See, success, according to Earl Nightingale, is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. In other words, the day that you decide you're going to do something, you're already a success as long as you're working toward it, as long as you're moving toward it. See, you're not a success because you've gotten somewhere. You're successful the day you decide to go somewhere and start moving in that direction. That's why he says success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal or a worthy goal. And so Maxwell just asks and puts it in a different way. Are you accomplishing it? Are you on the road? If you are, you're already successful. And then the fifth habit of highly defective people, he says, is they're just not willing to make any changes. They will not change. That they're just hard-headed. They're stuck in a rut. They do things this way, and they're not going to do it any other way. They just face life as it comes and don't grow. They don't develop. They don't make the necessary changes, personality changes or work habits. They're not willing to change anything. But Maxwell pointed out that in order to do certain things, you've got to do certain things. And to do certain things, you've got to change certain things. There's certain things in your life that have caused you to not be where you want to be. So that means that you've got some habits and some things that you do that are holding you back. You've got to be willing to put those things aside, make some intentional changes in your attitude, changes in your daily routine, changes in everything, changing in what you read, if you're willing to continue to grow in self-development and so forth. But highly defective people don't change, and they're not willing to change. And then number 6, he says, is that highly defective people fail in their most important relationships. And as I told you, John Maxwell, when he was recording these in a live session with his staff, and he viewed his staff as people that had skills and abilities that he didn't have. And he wanted to pour into them. He wanted to build a working relationship, a friendship relationship. He wanted to get to know them. He wanted to help them understand their strengths, help them set goals and achieve them. And he viewed that his relationship with his staff was just that, a relationship, and a relationship to be developed. And he said, not only do we want to have good relationships with the people that we work with, but we also want to have good relationships at home with our family, with our spouses, with the people that are most important to us. And he said highly defective people have terrible relationships. They have terrible working relationships. Oftentimes their home life is terrible. Highly effective people look at people as gifts, look at people as blessings who have strengths and abilities that you don't have, and they can complement you and you can complement them. So habit number 6 of highly defective people is that they have poor relationships. And then finally, number 7, highly defective people do not pay the price for success. Maxwell had a phrase and a statement that he said many times in these tapes. He said, you got to pay now so you can play later. You got to pay first so you can play later. He said too many people are focused on playing right now, but you got to first pay before you can play. You got to pay the price of getting to where you want to go, which means putting in the effort, getting the training, getting the mentorship, doing the studies, taking each day and looking at it as another opportunity to get a little bit closer to the goal, and paying the price day by day by day of actually getting in there, rolling up your sleeves, getting your hands dirty and getting to the work. And when you do that, when you pay the price, eventually you'll get to where you're going. And at that point, that's when you get to enjoy the benefits and have the playtime that you want to have. But so many people focus all of their time on playing now, goofing off now, and not taking their goals and their dreams seriously. You know, there's a reason that experts tell us that 95% of people die with their dreams still in them. Only about 5% of people actually accomplish the goals of their heart and their mind. The goals of their life purpose. And that's sad that only 5% do it. But he said the 5% are the ones who pay the price to get there. I really hope that this has been encouraging to you. I'm looking forward to digging out more of these and adding as many of these to this playlist as I can. I do hope it's been an encouragement to you. And let me ask you to do me a favor. If this has been of value to you, would you go ahead and subscribe to the channel? It'll help the channel so much, and it'll encourage me to keep going forward and pouring more and more of these trainings into you. I want to be one who shares life and joy with you. That's why I call the channel A Baby Boomer Talking Life and Joy. Thank you for watching.